Now we're going to explore the scene tool, the chalk line seed tool. So this is the tool that allows you to snap chalk lines onto the scene floor. So think about it in the real life, or in the real world, how you would take this chalk line tool out. It's a thing, you pull it out, you hold it down, and then you have someone pop it in the middle, and then that leaves a chalk line on your subfloor. And so that's what this tool represents. So this tool is slightly different than the other ones. If I turn it on, what you see is we get this tool out here that looks kind of like the tape measure. It's got a hook side over here, and then it's got a body side over here. And just like the tape measure, you can drag around the body, and you can drag around the hook. And then finally, the big difference between this and a tape measure is that this has a button in the middle to snap a chalk line. So I grab the body, I grab the hook, I adjust this chalk line however I want, and then I can click and release. I just do a click out there, and what you'll see is this has left a chalk line on the subfloor. So you can snap as many of these chalk lines as you want just by doing that and moving them around. Then when you leave the chalk line tool, when you turn off the tool here, so I go to the tape measure tool, you'll notice that the chalk line tool has disappeared from the scene, but the chalk lines that have been snapped stay. Like our other tools, the chalk line tool has a shortcut key. It's a C for chalk line. So if I have a different tool selected and I hit the C key, we will jump over to the chalk line tool, and the tool itself, the chalk line tool itself, will show up on the subfloor. Now, when you're going to snap chalk lines, you're going to want to do it fairly precisely because you're trying to lay out a floor. You're trying to lay out a blueprint onto a floor tip is what this app is trying to mimic. So you need some other things in the scene. So let's go ahead and add in a tape measure. And let's add in a couple awls just for a little exercise. And then let me move this tape measure somewhere else so it's not perfectly lined up. And then we can demonstrate how you can use the awls and the tape measures along with the chalk line tool to get really precise lines on your subfloor. So I've got a couple awls in here, and I got a tape measure in here. Now I'm going to turn on my chalk line tool. Again, the body and the hook, you can drag them around, and they have snapping rules. And the snapping rules are very similar to the tape measure snap tools. So when you're dragging the hook around, you can snap the hook. The hook will snap to the edge of the subfloor, which is great. It will also snap to an awl. So that's typically what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to snap the hook of this chalk line to an awl. And this is what you would usually do on a job site, is you would first lay out an awl, and then you would pull a chalk line off of that awl. And so now you're pulling the body of the chalk line around. And again, kind of like the tape measure, you can, if the body goes past another awl, what you'll see is it'll snap near that awl. So as I get close to this awl, I can come over here, and now I can snap a line that is perfectly between these two awls. Right? That's great. Another thing you could do is I'm going to go ahead and snap this hook back to that awl. Is you could drag the chalk line across a tape measure. And you can see we get a little dimension gets called out about where this chalk line is crossing the tape measure. So let's say I knew from the blueprint that I need this chalk line to start over here at this awl and cross the tape measure at, say, 100 inches. So what I can do is I can watch that thing, and I can come in here, and let me zoom in a little bit, get a little more precision. If you zoom in, real close, right there. Now I've got this chalk line laid out. So it starts at the chalk line, the awl over here, and it crosses our tape measure right there. So I can snap that chalk line there, and voila, there we go. I'm going to turn off the awl tool, and you'll see that we have laid out a precise line that runs from the awl itself, and it crosses this tape measure right there at 100 inches, which is great, which is what we were shooting for. Once you've laid down a chalk line, you can't move it. You can't bump the ends around, but you can delete it. So to delete a chalk line that has a line that's been chalked, you can hit the delete tool and you can hover on it, and you can delete them just like the other things where you point at it and it will delete. Again, deleting a chalk line is an undoable action. So if you've accidentally deleted a line and you didn't want to, you can press the undo button and they will come back.